RocketFrac is a disruptive clean-tech energy service company leveraging cutting-edge rocket science to revolutionize fracking technology. Using proprietary chemistry blends based on solid rocket fuel, RocketFrac has eliminated the need for water and proppant from the fracking process. This dramatically reduces operational complexity and downtime. It also expands and improves the scope and direction of the generated formation fractures. And it does all of this with a smaller environmental footprint. The key to the RocketFrac revolution is in the use of non-toxic gases rather than valuable surface water to generate fractures in the reservoir at very high pressures without compromising safety. RocketFrac Fuel's sophisticated chemistry uses a slow burn process called deflagration. Rather than a rapid explosion, deflagration releases the fuel's energy at a slower pace, similar to the process that accelerates a rocket into space. In a conventional hydrofrac, there can be dozens of vehicles at the location, tankers, mixers, and pumpers, all with support staff, all running on diesel or natural gas, creating carbon emissions, and consuming up to hundreds of thousands of liters of water and thousands of kilos of sand. The fractures are created by pumping water into the formation over an extended duration. Sometimes the fracking process takes several days. In contrast, RocketFrac uses only one wireline truck to deploy our specialized RocketFrac tool, without the need for any tankers, pumpers, or mixers. RocketFrac technology can stimulate production with far fewer carbon emissions. Only a small amount of carbon dioxide is present in the RocketFrac process's exhaust gases, and even that may be absorbed by the reservoir. The whole process from setting up to fracking and putting the well back into production takes mere hours. In addition to all of these benefits, RocketFrac's technology generates a radial fracture structure in the reservoir. This radial fracture pattern enables producers to access oil and gas from the reservoir, which would normally have been inaccessible. The patent-pending RocketFrac tool is loaded with proprietary solid rocket fuel charges and is paired with a wireline truck. The wireline then deploys the RocketFrac tool into the well, where it is positioned exactly at the point of interest, in the reservoir zone. With the tool in place, the operator triggers an electrical pulse that ignites the rocket fuel, which rapidly starts producing gases and increases the pressure in the zone. This triggers the state-of-the-art isolation mechanism, which is designed to isolate extremely high pressures in order to completely trap the produced gases. This isolated high pressure not only creates fractures, but also ensures rapid fracture growth. The pressure continues to mount, finally peaking around 40,000 psi. These highly pressurized gases enter into the zone of interest through the perforations in the wellbore as stress waves, fracturing and torquing the rock, creating permeability and generating sand-like fragments of proppant material. As the fuel is spent, the pressure drops, and the fractures are propped open by the fragmented materials and uneven, mismatched faces of the fractures. With the reduced pressure, the isolation mechanisms automatically disengage, so the tool can be safely retrieved. In the hydrofracking process, the fracture direction is controlled by regional geomechanical stress orientations, known as SH-max and SH-min. The direction of fractures created with hydrofrac is invariably perpendicular to SH-min. This means that hydrofrac always creates a linear fracture in one direction and will reopen existing fractures. On the other hand, the stress waves generated by the RocketFrac process propagate radially, generating more desirable radial fractures. As mentioned earlier, in the conventional hydrofrac process, fractures are created by loading the formation with water under very high pressure. When the pumping pressure ceases, the fracs close on themselves. In order to keep these fracs open, a proppant, usually fine sand, is pumped into the fracs. These sand particles keep the frac open. RocketFrac fracturing technology keeps the fractures open in two ways. RocketFrac's fracturing mechanism is self-propping, meaning it creates its own propping material. With RocketFrac's technology, the fractures are not caused by a loading mechanism. They are stress fractures caused by a stress wave emanating from the deflagration along the length of the isolation zone. These stress waves have retrograde motion, meaning they move in more than one direction. When these waves travel through the opposing fracture surfaces, they scour them, extracting sand particles that keep the fracs open. The waves also slightly rotate the opposing fracture surfaces away from each other, making it impossible to close the fractures completely. Hydrofracking has been known to cause earthquakes in some cases, damaging the reputation of companies who work with it, and even leading to bans in various jurisdictions. Earthquakes can be caused when the pumped water used during the hydrofracking process finds its way into an existing dormant fault. The water then acts as a lubricant, and the loading pumping pressure from the surface causes an earthquake as the opposing fault surfaces slide along each other at the lubricated site. Because RocketFrac technology uses no water, it does not create this risk of earthquakes. A major limiting factor in the hydrofrac system is its reduced efficacy when used in previously fracked wells. This is because it reopens existing fractures as it follows the same paths of least resistance. Since the regional stress regime is unlikely to have changed, the hydrofrac system produces diminishing returns. RocketFrac, however, is far more effective when used in previously fracked wells, as it creates new fractures from stress waves, not relying on the same path of least resistance taken by a hydrofrac. RocketFrac can be used on thousands of otherwise uneconomic wells currently sitting idle, turning them from liabilities into productive assets. For producers that want to stimulate production with the benefits of reduced emissions, no fresh water or sand, smaller operational footprint, and more, learn more about RocketFrac Cleantech's innovations at rocketfrac.com.